Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture series of electromagnetic fields. We will discuss different theories, phenomena and numerical solution of different cases in this series. I hope this series will give a fruitful outcome to physics scholars or engineering students.
Welcome back. Up till now, we have applied Gauss's law on different symmetrical charge distribution. Fine. But what if the charge distribution is not symmetrical? That means our field intensity is not normal or tangential at any point, or we can also say that the density does not have a constant value throughout the assumed Gaussian surface. Fine. So there might be some cases on which we cannot directly determine the appropriate Gaussian surface, and still we need to find out what will be the intensity and what will be the flux density for such non-symmetrical charge distribution. At that time we cannot apply Gauss's law directly on such distribution, and we need to go for vector calculus, and we need to use some different methodologies. One of such methodology is called divergence. So in today's video we are going to learn what the divergence is and what is the physical meaning of divergence. Fine, so let us start. So for the initiation of the process, we are going to apply Gauss's law for a very small differential volume element. Fine. Here the conditions are very important to understand, because whatever the things we will derive in this video is truly based on the condition. Fine. So as you can see, I have taken a differential volume element in Cartesian coordinate system, which is having a sides delta x, delta y and delta z. Actually these lengths are very small, and at the center of this differential volume element I have marked a point P. Also I have taken the same point P as the origin of my Cartesian coordinate system. Fine. So these two are the conditions which must be clear in our mind before starting the derivation. Fine. So there is a small differential volume element with sides shown as delta x, delta y and delta z in their respective directions. Point P is a center of our differential volume element, as well as it is a origin of our Cartesian coordinate system. Fine. Secondly, we are considering that the flux density d bar is defined as dx ax bar plus dy ay bar plus dz az bar in three-dimensional space. Now this density is also defined in the Cartesian coordinates. So as you can see, the base vectors ax bar, ay bar and az bar. Fine. In many literature you will find x cap, y cap and z cap in place of ax bar, ay bar and az bar. Both are convenient representation and valid also. So these are base vectors. Now if we want to apply Gauss's law, so we'll first find what is the flux density at point P. So at point P, which is nothing but origin, so we can say d0 bar, because point P is origin of our system. We can write dx0 ax bar plus dy0 ay bar plus dz0 az bar. Fine. So this is the density at point P initially. Okay, and now we will apply Gauss's law on this differential volume element. Now doing so, if we want to apply Gauss's law, then it says that total flux passing through any closed surface is psi, which is nothing but the charge enclosed by the surface, and which is nothing but the closed surface integration of flux density to be dot product with differential surface. Fine. So this is the mathematical representation of Gauss's law. For our case, we can divide this closed surface integration into 6 parts because we are having 6 surfaces: this top surface, this bottom surface, right hand surface, left hand surface, front surface, and back surface. Fine. So we are having 6 different surfaces in our differential volume element. So we can break this closed integration into 6 parts, in which we will take integration of each surface individually. So I am taking integration of front surface plus integration of back surface plus integration of right surface, integration of left surface plus integration of top surface and bottom one. Okay, so we have divided this closed surface integration into 6 parts with the operands same as above. So d bar dot ds bar. Now what will we do? We will calculate any one pair of surface. Fine. So either you can choose front and back surface, left and right surface, or top and bottom surface. Fine. Once you calculate for one pair, another 2 pairs will have the same result with different operands, but the finally we need not to calculate for all 6 surfaces. Fine. So I am taking the very first pair, front surface and back surface. So if I want to calculate integration of front surface d bar dot ds bar, fine, then what will I do? So for front surface, here let me remove unnecessary surfaces. Okay, so this is our front surface, which is actually in the direction of x. Fine. So for front surface, I can write ds bar is equals to delta y delta z ax bar. Fine. It is very easy to determine this formula. If you have not gone through my video of Cartesian coordinate system, then I request you to go through that video and then resume this after understanding the things. So front surface, it is in the direction of x, and we can write its formula as delta y delta z ax bar. For d bar, we can write, say, d front, which is the value for the of flux density for the front surface. It is also having a direction ax bar. Then dot product will be delta y delta z ax bar. Now this d front or ax bar dot ax bar will be 1. So finally we will only have d front into delta y delta z. Still we don't know the value of d front, so we can have that our flux is changing with reference to its coordinates of point. So if here at point P the amount of flux density was dx0 ax bar plus dy0 ay bar plus dz0 az bar. So if we move delta x by 2 distance, then the density will have changed. So that change will be, so from this point we can say d front is equals to dx0, so which was initial value of flux density at point P. Then we have traveled delta x by 2 distance in positive x direction. So to reach from point P to front surface, we need to travel delta x by 2 distance in positive x direction. So we can have a distance of surface from point P multiplied by rate of change so we can write dx0 plus what distance we have traveled, that is delta x by 2. This is the reason why we have taken this point P as a origin. Okay, delta x by 2, and rate of change we can say del dx by del x. So d front will be dx0 plus delta x by 2 del dx by del x. Now putting this value over here, then we will have integration of front surface d bar dot ds bar equals to dx0 plus delta x by 2 del dx by del x delta y delta z. Now giving it equation number 1. Now what will we do? We will calculate the same thing for back surface. So for the back surface, as you can see, this is our back surface, this surface, which is in the direction of negative ax bar. Fine. So for back surface, ds bar is equals to delta y delta z will be same, but direction will be negative ax bar. All the other things will be same. Okay, so what can we do? Integration for back surface d bar dot ds bar equals to ds back into delta y delta z. Now still we have unknown value of this d back or say ds back or whatever will be the convention. So d back is nothing but dx0, which is the value of field density or flux density at point P, then the rate of change of dx. So rate of change of dx is nothing but del dx by del x, and the distance of surface from point P. Now the distance is del x by 2, but we are going or we are traveling in negative x direction. That is why we will have here a negative sign, because we are traveling into negative x direction. So d back will be dx0 minus del x by del dx by del x into delta x by 2, and putting this into this equation, we will have back surface integration of d bar dot ds bar equals to, now this negative will be applied to this, so negative dx0 plus del dx by del x delta x by 2. And now front integration and back integration of d bar dot ds bar will be 2 into delta x. Now this will be our equation 2. If we add equation 1 and 2, then we will have 2 into delta x by 2 del dx by del x delta y delta z. So this 2 will get cancelled out, and we will have del dx by del x, delta x, delta y, delta z. So this is very important finding for us, in which we have computed the integration of very closed differential element, and we got this result, del dx by del x, delta y, delta x, delta z. Now similarly, if we calculate for left and right surface, so integration of left plus integration of right surface d bar dot ds bar, then you will get del dy by del y, delta x, delta y, delta z. And same thing if you calculate for top and bottom surface, then result of this pair will be nothing but del dz by del z, del x, delta y, delta z. And if we add all these integrations, then closed integration of d bar dot ds bar can be written as del dx by del x plus del dy by del y plus del dz by del z multiplied by delta x, delta y, delta z. And now this delta x, delta y, delta z is nothing but differential volume delta v. So we can say del dx by del x plus del dy by del y plus del dz by del z multiplied by differential volume. So q is nothing but closed surface integration of d bar dot ds bar. Fine. Now this finding is very important in order to define the divergence. Okay, this is how we can apply Gauss's law on differential volume element. Now we will try to find out the charges. Here this final equation can also be understood as a total charge enclosed in this very small differential volume. Okay, but the result that we are getting here, that is in form of partial derivatives, this result is a base for divergence. So by applying the thing, applying the Gauss's law on differential volume element, by applying Gauss's law on differential volume element, what result we got? We got q enclosed is equals to del dx by del x plus del dy by del y plus del dz by del z multiplied by value amount of differential volume. Now if we take limit of del v, here delta v, if we take a limit of delta v tends to 0, that is if our volume is shrinking to infinitesimally small volume, then we can write that limit delta v tends to 0 q by delta v, or in another word, limit delta v tends to 0, in place of q we can write closed surface integration of d bar dot ds bar divided by delta v is nothing but del dx by del x plus del dy by del y plus del dz by del z, and this is nothing but the divergence of d bar. This mathematical term is called divergence of d bar. Now the divergence is a operation which is only performed on the vectors. Fine. So, and it is only defined when the closed surface is infinitesimally small. Okay, so we can write any divergence of any general vector, say divergence of a bar, divergence of a bar. It is also shown with del operator. So if you want to show the divergence, then you can use this nabla dot a bar. This thing is called del operator, and as per the Greek alphabet it is pronounced as nabla. Okay, so nabla dot a bar is considered as divergence of this vector a bar, is defined as limit delta v tends to 0 closed surface integration of a bar divided by delta v. This is the mathematical definition of divergence of any vector. However, divergence can also be applied on scalar, but it has no physical meaning. Fine. Or we can also say that it will be 0 always. So now this thing is mathematically defining the divergence, and to calculate the divergence we have the formula as del ax by del x plus del ay by del y plus del az by del z. Fine. So this is how we can calculate the divergence in Cartesian coordinate system, and as you can see, divergence is a scalar quantity. Fine, because it introduces a dot product in its definition itself. So divergence will be the result of divergence of any vector will be scalar. Fine. Now this is the formula of divergence in Cartesian coordinate system, that is del ax by del x plus del ay by del y plus del az by del z. Cartesian coordinate system. One can also derive such formula for cylindrical and spherical coordinate system by considering the small differential volume element as a cylinder and a sphere respectively, but we are not going to going deep into that part. Rather, we will directly use the formula in case of numerical. So divergence of a bar in cylindrical coordinate system can be found out as 1 upon rho del by del rho into rho into a rho plus 1 upon rho del a phi by del phi. We know that the coordinates of any vector in cylindrical system is rho, phi and z. Fine. Plus del az by del z. So this is how we can calculate the divergence of any vector given in cylindrical coordinate system. Similarly, if our vector is given in spherical coordinate system, then we can find the divergence of the same with the equation 1 upon r square del by del r of r square into ar. Here this is very essential thing. You cannot take out this r square as constant and cancel out with the denominator. Fine. this multiplication is very essential. You can have the partial differentiation only after multiplying r square with ar. Okay, otherwise you will have the wrong result. So please do not change the order of calculation. Plus 1 upon r sine theta del by del theta of sine theta into a theta. So here also you cannot take out sine theta and cancel with denominator. You must multiply sine theta with the theta coordinate of vector, then you take the partial differentiation and then divide it with r sine theta. That will be the true process. Plus 1 upon r sine theta del a phi by del phi, and this is the equation to determine the divergence in spherical coordinate system. As a student or as an aspirant of any competitive exam related to electrical engineering, one must remember these three formulas in order to save a tremendous amount of time and score well. So these are the three equations to find divergence in different coordinate system. Now we will move towards the physical meaning of divergence. So from the equation that we have derived, we can say the physical meaning of divergence is, if a bar is any vector, then the divergence of that vector is the outflow of that quantity from a closed surface per unit volume, and our volume is also shrinking to 0. Fine. So we can say that is the physical meaning of divergence of any vector is the outflow of that quantity from a small closed surface per unit volume, which is shrinking to 0. This statement is nothing but the linguistic representation of limit delta v tends to 0 closed surface integration of a bar dot ds bar by delta v. Fine. This term is mathematical representation of divergence, and this statement is a linguistic meaning of this term. Fine. So we can say if we are having a point P and we have a vector field like this, then as you can see, the quantity is having the outflow in all three dimensions. Then we can have at point P the value of divergence. Let us say the quantity as a bar, and then divergence of a will be positive. Fine. And this is called divergence. Say at point P some vector quantity is distributed in this manner, then we can say again the quantity is a bar, then divergence of a that we will get will be negative, and this negative divergence is called convergence, because here the quantity is not outflowing, it is inflowing. Fine. So inflowing quantity defines the negative divergence, and negative divergence is called convergence. Now suppose there is a point P and some field is distributed in this manner. So as you can see, there is no any outflow or not any inflow, or we, in other word, whatever the inflow, the same is the outflow. So at this moment, divergence of A bar at point P is 0. Fine, because the field is neither diverging nor converging. Okay, again taking a very interesting example. So if we are having a tube of tire, say like this, and we pinch a pin from the tire, then what will happen? The air will start to flow from the tube to environment. So as you can see here, the velocity of air inside the tire will be very more or very high, because the air is being filled with high pressure. If we assume a small closed surface at this point, then when the air will come out to the atmosphere, its velocity will be very less. However, the amount of air traveled from tire to atmosphere will be same, but velocity difference will be there. Fine. So we can say more amount of field line. Here the field is, say, pressure. So more amount of field line is entering into this volume and small amount of lines are leaving the volume. So we are having positive divergence at the point of puncture. Fine. Now if we seal the puncture, then what will happen? Now the total line of pressure will be the same. So for this, the divergence will be 0, because nothing is originated and nothing is terminated. Fine. And in the next step, suppose we are filling the air into the tire from a tube. Now this tube is connected with compressor. Then what will happen? Inside this tube, the pressure will be very high, and in punctured tire, the outflow pressure will be low. Fine. So at that time, the divergence at this point P will be negative, and we can understand this case of filling air in a puncture tire as convergence. So this is how we can physically understand what the divergence is. However, a positive divergence of any vector quantity indicates a source of that vector. So as you can see here, this positive divergence states that this point, the puncture point, is having a source of air or source of pressure or high velocity air. Fine. Then a negative divergence or convergence indicates the sink of that vector quantity. Here, when we are refilling the air in punctured tire, then this point behaves as a sink of the high pressure air gas coming from the compressor. Fine. So this convergence or negative divergence at any point represents the sink of that vector quantity, and zero divergence here in this case, middle one, zero divergence means there is no source and no sink exist at that point. Fine. So the result of divergence of vector field is a scalar, and divergence indicates how much flux lines are leaving that small volume. So this is how we need to understand the divergence In next video, we will have some example and practical applications of divergence.